hello everyone. Thanks for joining me today. Today I am very excited to talk about one of the important topic of any software development. And so it is important for REST API implementation as well. The topic which we are going to discuss is called exceptional handling. Before we start, if you are new to the channel, then please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so that you will get regular updates. Also, like, share, and comment on videos. By the way, just for an update, I make videos on Java, server, Linux, and identity and access management. For more info, do check out the channel. Now as we talked a lot, let's focus on agenda of today's video. For first 5 to 10 minutes, we will talk about background and theory of the topic, and then we will do practical where I'll showcase the topic practically. Okay, so let's start. Exceptional handling. Spring Boot default exceptional handling has great functionality. However, sometimes we need to further customize it. By default, Spring Boot has an excellent exceptional handling mechanism. Sometimes, as a developer, we want to take control of complete flow, especially with exceptions, and this is what we are going to discuss in this video. So, in this video, you are going to understand what are the point where exception can occur. If you understand that particular point, you will be in a good shape to handle those exceptions. The first thing is you have to understand what are the point where exception can occur and what are the detailed information that you can send to your client. That thing is very mandatory to understand. Couple of things we need to define in order to make use of custom exceptional handling. Define a custom exceptional handler class, which will be subclass to response entity exceptional handler. So basically, for having your custom exceptional handling, what you need to do, you have to define a class will be a subclass to response entity exceptional handler. Also, annotate the class using controller advice so that all request mapping will be handled through your custom class exceptional handler. Whatever REST controller is there in your application and whatever mappings are there, all those URI exception will be handled through your custom exception once you are going to annotate it with controller advice. Response Entity Exceptional Handler has predefined methods which will handle most of the runtime exception. You can make use of those by overriding it into your custom class. Some of the best known method and info I am providing in next slide. Also, you have option to customize the response and send proper your version of information to the client. We will see this in our practical session. There are some of the error code which are well known and we need to understand those error code, and you might already be aware of those error code. One of the example is 400 which tells bad request. Basically server is complaining about the client request that the request is not appropriate. It will be thrown when client is sending something which server unable to understand. The example are server expecting integer value for a parameter, but you are sending a string, and the corresponding method which is there in your response entity exceptional response entity exception handler, that is handle HTTP message not readable. Similarly, name of the request parameter differs. So let's say you are sending request parameter as ABC, but on the server end, someone is accessing that parameter with other than ABC, then what is going to happen? You are going to server is going to throw 400 error. That is a bad request. And it will say, and the method which is going to trigger called handle missing servlet request parameter. We'll see all this in action in our practical session. 405 This error is the most common error which you must have gone through so many times. It will be thrown when client is sending request with HTTP method different from server supports. Client sends HTTP GET request, however server has defined POST method, and the corresponding method which is going to trigger in this case is handle HTTP request method not supported. Similarly, H15 media not supported. It will be thrown when client sends media type which server is not supporting. So by default, REST API implementation of a Spring Boot supports JSON. You can support other thing, but in that case you have to mention it. But by default, it supports JSON. And let's say client is sending something which is not JSON. So by default, REST API supports JSON, but you are sending, as a client, you are sending something like text. So it will throw an exception, that is 415 media not supported. And the exception which is going to trigger is handle HTTP media type not supported. 500 is the most common error, which is something server is not in a condition, or server is not in a condition to process your request. That's where 500 is thrown. It will be thrown when there is a mismatch of path variable name between rest path and method argument. So 500 is something which is, you know, basically what we are going to do is we will try to change this status to something else when we are going to define our own custom exceptional handler. So we just have to change it to something else. So it will be thrown when there is a mismatch of path variable name between the rest path and the method argument. So all this we are going to see. There is one example, however I can give n number of example which anyway we are going to discuss very soon. We can define custom exception in two ways. Basically, I have categorized it in two ways. One is based on some condition throw an exception. So based on some condition, let's say client is searching, a client is expecting some value, client is making a get request for some data, and that data is not available. So first you will check into your data source whether that data is available or not. If it is not available, if it is null or empty, then what you are going to do is you can throw your own custom exception. So here what you are doing is based upon some condition you are throwing an exception first. Second is using exceptional handling to catch default exception of a Spring Boot. There are times where a Spring Boot is going to throw their own exception, okay, I'll showcase you in my practical session. So you have to catch that exception, and then you have to throw your own version of custom exception. That also can be achievable and can be done sometimes, which I am going to show in the practical session. To control a verb, you just need to define a method with parameter of your custom exception type and annotate it with exceptional handler, custom exceptional class. So I'll show how to do that in practical session. Also, define custom handler for well-defined exception. Like null pointer exception is a well-defined exception. You can define your own version of null pointer exception. Like what and detail, what are the detail that you want to send to the client in case null pointer exception is thrown. Similarly, you can define your own version of exceptional handling or exception masses in case of no such element exception, retrieving object from empty enumeration or container, you can say. Now, I'm just giving you high level overview of my practical project. For exceptional handling project, we need following dependencies: web starter, data JPA, H2 database, and developer tools. Developers tools have their own functionality and uses. However, for this project, why I need is basically when I am doing any change, I just don't want to stop and restart. I want it to be taken care automatically at runtime, which developer tools is going to do. It will act as a listener. As soon as I'll do some change in my project, my Spring container is going to restart. Simple. In application.properties using H2 database, these are the things that you have to take care. Username, admin, password, admin, anything you can keep. Same you have to use when you are going to connect to your H2 database. Driver is very simple. This is the static thing. Now you have to take care of data source URL. Here you can see I am not using memory. I am using file and I have given local path. So whatever path corresponding to your local system, that path you will give, and the name of the database, something like abc.db, extension will be db. Now Spring JPA show SQL, it is for showing all SQL query thing in the log. H2 console enabled, so basically it will enable the H2 console so that you can access and see how your database has been updated and all. JPA Hibernate DDL auto update, so basically it is here you have option where you what we are going to do here is we are not going to define any schema for our database. We want to get the schema created at the runtime. There are options like create, update and all. So we are going with update. What is the meaning of update is, so at the time of container startup, it will see what are the entities and accordingly table will be created for all the entities. If there is an update in your entity, that update will also be taken care. But at the time of shutting down of your container, it is not going to drop the table. So that's the benefit. So now what we will do is, without further ado, let's go to the Eclipse and start our practical. For this project, what I have done is I already made my project ready, because in our last video it took a lot of time to make our project structure itself. So what I have done is I already have my project structure ready. I'll walk you through my project, and I'll show you how you will start your Spring Boot in Spring Initializer also. So just give me 2 minutes. To start your Spring Initializer or Spring Boot project, what you have to do is you just have to go for a Spring Initializer. You will get start.spring.io, the first link. You have to go over here. You have to select Maven project or Gradle project. I'll go with Maven, and then Java. Then the latest version we can go with the stable latest version. And here you have to give group and all. This you must be aware of. Packaging will be jar and Java version will be 8 in my case. So whatever Java version you are using, accordingly you can keep. Java 8 I am keeping, and here you have to go with dependencies. For my case, I'll actually for this project we need web, we need data JPA, Spring Data JPA, we need developer to, sorry, we Spring integration we don't need, sorry, we need developer tools, that is dev tools, and the fourth one is H2 database. These are the four dependencies we need, and we'll go for generate, and then it will generate a zip file. You just have to unzip it, and then you have to import that project into your workspace. So right now this is my Eclipse. So you just have to go over here after unzipping of your project, go to import, and then import, and then you have various options. So you have to go for existing Maven project, existing Maven project. So this option you have to select, and then you will select your unzipped project location path, and then you will just go for finish. And as soon as you will do that, it will take around 1 to 2 minutes, and finally you will able to see your project into the workspace. In my case, I am able to see this exceptional handling which I already imported. So now what I'll do is I'll walk you through my project. So basically what I have done here is I have created one entity which is employee. Employee has three attributes. So employee ID, employee name, and age. These are the three attributes. As you know, since we are using a Spring Data JPA, so we just have to annotate it with @entity. As soon as we'll do this, corresponding table will be created into your database. Okay. So @ID, that is to define that particular property of your entity as primary key. Generated value, we don't want to keep track of ID generation, primary key generation, so we are making use of generated value. These are the things only we have to do, and we are good with entity. Basically, as soon as we will start our container, corresponding table will be created into the database. Why? Because we are using DDL update also. That's why corresponding table will be created. Now what we will do is we will go for repository. Repository, actually you have to annotate it with repository, and you have to extend JPA repository. You can extend it with CRUD repository also. JPA repository because it has more behavior of JPA along with some more method also. So you can go with JPA repository. CRUD repository is also going to help us in this project because we are not going to go for lot many method. And here you have to give data about what entity you are going to manage through this repository. We are going to manage the employee and what type of primary key. So type of primary key is long, as you can see here. So that's what we have given here. Okay, repository is done. Now what we will do is we will go for service. In service we have two methods right now. One is for save the employee. If you can see here, save employee, and it expects employee argument, employee object argument, and we are just by using repository. Actually in this you have to annotate it with service, and then this annotate it with service because this is a specialized class. So rather than going for component, you have to go for service. And now we are auto wiring employee repo. In this method, what is going to happen is by using this repository, we are going to call save method, and this will save employee object into the database, and it will return same persisted employee object also. That's what we are returning here. Simple. Now there is another method called retrieve employee, and this is used to retrieve employee from the database. So how we are going to retrieve employee? By using primary key, that is ID. So you just have to make a call employee repo dot find by ID, and it is going to return you optional. Optional is a container type, optional, and optional, from optional you just have to go with optional dot get. It will give you the particular employee. Simple. Now we'll go to controller. In controller we have two URI right now. One is to save the employee and another is to fetch the employee. So basically here method overloading is there, so but we'll go with retrieve employee. That's okay. We have changed the name just to make sense. Now what we are going here, what we are doing here is this also request param is not needed for now. So what we will do here is in this basically we are going to fetch employee from the database. Okay, so everything is ready, and what we will do here is by using employee name also. By using employee name, let's create a method into our repository. You just have to create a structure, or you just need a signature because that's the interface. Repository is an interface. So by default find by employee name is not there, so you can define a signature, and automatically Spring Boot is going to provide implementation at the runtime. So what we are going to do is we'll go here and we'll go with public and this can give optional and list of employee, and find by employee name. E should be capital, first letter of the property needs to be capital, and here someone will give string employee name. Okay, automatically this implementation is going to be provided by Spring Boot at the runtime. You need not to do anything. So we'll create one method in REST service to find by employee name. So what we'll do is, employee name is not unique or something. So there could be possibility where two employee has same name, correct? That's why we have kept it list. We kept it list of employee. Okay, when you are going to fetch by employee name. So in the service, what we will do is we'll go for a method public list of employee, and then retrieve all employee by employee name. Okay, and here this is the string employee name, and from here what we are going to do is employee repo dot find by employee name, and we will simply return that. Okay, basically what we will do is, first it is going to return optional list of employees, so we'll go with that optional, and list of employee is equal to, okay, employee list optional. Okay, and now if what we are going to do here is, simply from this we will get, we'll call get method, and it is going to return list of employees. Okay, sounds good. So now what we are going to do is, we have to define a method for retrieve all employees by name. So employee, and here what we'll go with is name, and path environment variable is string, that is name, and here, so this will be list of employee actually, list of employee, and the same here we have to update list of employee, and service retrieve. Okay, done. So these are the method that we have defined right now, and change this mapping to employees all name, all name by name. Okay, so I'm just skipping this URI, which is not making sense a lot, but that's okay. You can make it the way you want. So that's what right now we have. So what I already shown you the application dot properties. So this is our application dot properties. Okay, and right now I'll see if my database is having anything. So I just have to start it. So let's start it. Okay, it got started. Okay, so now go to the database and see. This is our H2 console, and this is what is there in the properties file. If you will go here and see, this is what we have to paste it over JDBC URL, and then connect, and Okay, this is run selected. Right now nothing is there. So what we'll do is we'll just open our Postman and then we'll try to create some of the data. Okay, so this is our Postman. You have to click on this plus button, and now what we have to do here is in the URL we'll give http://localhost, and our application is running on 8080 default port on which Spring Boot is running. And here we'll go with employees. Okay, and we'll go with post, and if you will see what we have to send the body also, body, and the data format will be raw, and you have to select from here JSON. Okay, so this is in curly braces, you have to go with all the properties of employee. So what are the properties of employee? So let's see that. Employee ID, employee name, and age. Employee ID anyway is auto generated by JPA itself. So we will go with employee name and age. So, and employee name, parameter name always in double inverted comma, employee name, and this is a string, so we'll go with test1. Okay, now comma, and then we'll go with again age in double inverted comma because it's a property name, and colon, and age will be, let's say, 11. This is integer, so that's good. Now we are all set. We'll just send this. Okay, and here our application is running, so what we'll do is we'll just send it. So we got proper response to 1201 created, and then this is what our response is. Now what we are going to do is there are a couple of errors that we want to see how the default exceptional handling of Spring Boot behaves. So that's what we want to see. So what we will do is we'll go with, so this is post, this expect post. What we will do is we'll go with get, let's say, and we'll send this. Then what is happening, that's what we will see. Okay, so let's clean it and now click it. So now you can see this is 4 not 5, and it is giving method not allowed. So, and here you can see this is what it is giving you, request method get not supported. Okay, so that's what 405 method not allowed that we have seen. If you will go here and try to understand, this is a status, and this is whole lot of thing where you are getting information about timestamp, status, what error, method not trace, a lot of thing. It is like where exception occurred and all. Message, request method get not supported, and path, what path you are trying to access, where it has given you this error. So whole lot of information by default giving you a Spring Boot. But there could be the possibility you want to handle it. You don't want your Spring Boot to take care of that, correct? You want to have information in your version, how you can do that. That's what we are going to discuss. Another thing what we can do here is, now what we will do is uh, let's go with post only, but the data format what we'll do is we'll go for with text. Let's say, so your server is expecting JSON, but we'll send text and then we'll see what error it is going to generate. Okay, so let me clean it. Then again I'm going, and it is giving unsupported media type, and you can see here unsupported media type. Okay, so this is again 415 unsupported media type, and here also you got whole lot of information like timestamp, status, error, trace, message, and path. Now what next we can try is, okay, so right now we have only one data into the database. If you will go here and you just right now one, let's create one more. So post body, let's convert it to JSON and we'll go with test2. Okay, and is, let's say, go with 12 and then send it. So we have two data right now in our database. Run selected. You have two data right now. So what we'll do is we'll try to get the data from the database. So by using one, okay, this will be a get request, and this is a URL. And what you have to do is you will go with none. Basically, it is, this request don't need any body, so you'll go with none get URL, and then what we will do is we will send the request, and this is what we got the response. Okay, here you can see 200 response, and we are able to see this, which is good. Now let's say your actually backend expects integer value over here, that is long value here, but let's say send it a string. Okay, and then see, so here you can see 400 bad request and it is giving you bad request. So here you can see method argument type mismatch exception. Okay, so that's another error. Okay, so we have seen that bad request and number format exception it is giving you. So 400 bad requests, we have seen that. Now these are whatever I am showing you right now is the default behavior of a Spring Boot. Okay, now there could be another possibility where let's say in your controller class, this is your controller, this is ID, but let's change this value name to, let's say, employee, no, let's ID only, but here let's make it employee ID. Okay, and in that case, so basically this name and that this name needs to be the same. Okay, URI parameter and method argument name needs to be the same. You have another option where you can give this name here, whatever name here, and then you can keep this name anything. But right now this is the thing that we are doing, and let's see what is going to happen. Okay, so what we'll do is again, now we'll come to Postman and we'll see, we are trying to fetch employee ID 1, get, okay, send the request, and now we got 500 internal server error, and what it is saying is request here URI template variable ID for method parameter type long is not present. Okay, so basically it is complaining about this thing, missing path variable exception. Okay, and this is what, so 500 error because of path variable name has different naming. Now what you can do is, let's say, okay, just clean it. Now let's say employee ID, what we are doing is we are just retrieving employee ID. Okay, just go to this method. In this method, whatever we are getting, we are just, so let's see what method, let's say you want to access some employee ID which is not there into the database, correct? So there is no handling of exception you have done over here. So what we'll do is we'll just go with, let's say 3 we have not created, so we'll go with 3, And now you can see again you are seeing 500 internal server error, and what it is, required URI template variable ID for method parameter. Okay, sorry, I have to first change this in my controller. Okay, same name, good, it got restarted, very good. And that's the magic of developer tools. Okay, it got restarted as soon as I am doing any change in my project. So now what I'll do is I'll just go with the tree, and now you can see again it is giving me error. And what error it is giving? No value present. So basically we are trying to access employee ID with 3, but there is no employee present with employee ID 3. So it has given us no value present, and it is going to throw no such element exception. Okay, so again 500 we have seen no such element exception. So these are the default behavior, and by default Spring Boot behaves great. Okay, you need not to do anything. So these are the exception point. You have to understand what are the places where exception can occur, and accordingly you have to put your exceptional handler over there, which anyway you are aware of. Like uh, what are the places? I'll do is how to manage these exception, how to give more information to the client, or there are exception which you wanted to manage in your way. So how to do that? Handling is very easy. Whatever place where you think is a place where exception can occur, you can put try and catch, and you just handle it. Okay. So what we'll do is now we will go with exceptional custom exception handling, where I'm going to define my own version of custom exceptional, a universal global exceptional handler class, which will be a central exceptional handler for my complete application. Okay, that's what I'm going to try. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just stop my application. Okay, and then I'll go for a custom exception class. So here I'll create a class into exception package. I'll create custom exception, and then I will add a super class response entity exception, response entity exception handler. Also I'll annotate it with controller advice. As soon as I have done this, this will be our central exceptional handler class. Now what next I'll do is I'll go for some of the method which I'm going to design in my own way. Okay, I'll define my own version of exception message with proper information which I'm going to send to the client. So for that, what I'll do is I'll create my POSO class we need. So class, and here we'll just need something like exception info, let's say. Exception info, simple, it's a POSO class. So what are the things that we can private? What are the property we need here is date. Okay, and we have to go with java.util and private string error, private string message, private string message. What else we need? Timestamp is done. Private status, HTTP status, and status is done. I believe these are the information more than enough. And one thing more we need, private string path. Done. Trace we don't need. So make it very simple. And what we'll do is alt as just go for setter and setter. Done. Okay. Also we will create constructor. And let's create default constructor as well. Okay, done. We are good here. So now this is our exception info, which is a object which we can include when we are sending response to the client. So what we'll do is there are some method which we can override. So what I'll do is I will go with override implemented method. So if you will go here, conversion not supported internal, there are, let's say, media type not supported. This is the one of the media type not supported. So what we will do is we'll already have this exception. So from this exception object, we will try to get information in our exception object. And here in response entity, we will send our exception object. So what is our exception object is exception info. Okay. We'll create our own response entity. Okay. So what first, let's create our exception info object. Exception info is equal to new exception info, and the exception info here, rather than go just create. Okay, this we are going to send, and HTTP status. So the same status also we can send, or if you want to change, you can change it. Okay, this will be the path. So how you are going to get the path is URI. No, simply you will go with servlet URI component builder dot from current request dot to URI string, and it will give you path corresponding to the requested resource by the client. Done. Here what we will do is, if you will see, the first one is error, so I'll go with exception dot get message, and here we'll go with exception dot to a string. Okay, and now what we'll do is we'll set this return super, we will response entity dot status, and that will be by default. This is header, we don't need as such. Body will be simply exception info. Okay, sorry, this you cannot change because okay, because you are overriding. If you have created your own version of method, then you can go with any type, but since we are overriding, so we can go for broader, but we cannot go for subclass. Correct. So this is object is a super class, but we'll get the same behavior. Okay, so what we will do is now let's start and we'll see this and handle HTTP media type not supported. So we will send text like last time, and we'll see what message we are getting. Okay, so let's start it. Very good. Now what we'll do is we'll go with post, and this will be the URL, and body will go with raw and then JSON, and this time we'll create three, but we have to create exception, so we'll go with text. Okay, so let's go with that. And you can see this is very simple. We don't have trace, and h1 415 the same status, and this is the date. Okay, error is content type, this not supported, message is CTP media not supported, and unsupported media type, and this is the path where you are trying to access right now. Okay, so this is pure customized. Also you can have your own logger also over here, something like you can have logging thing over here, or you can have your sysout over here. So this is one method. Now similarly what you can do is you can override some other method also. So next method what we can try is, let's go with, I'll show you only two methods which you can customize in your own way. So override, let's go with handle type mismatch. Okay, so what we'll do is, again this we cannot change, so let's go with these guys. Just copy and paste over here, and then we'll, okay, so what we will do here is exception info, then new date and get message. Whatever here we will get, same we are going to use over here, path and all done. So basically we already have all the information, we just have to use it in our own way. So, and we can have a header also if we want some of the header to be sent to the client for information, that also we can do. Okay, so what we'll do is, let's start it now, and then we'll see how it is going to behave. So here what we'll do is we'll go with get, and then employees and type mismatch. So we will go with alloc, and it expects long or integer, but we are sending a string type. Let's see, and yeah, this is get body, we don't need anything right now, just send it. And we got a bad request and proper information, number, format, exception. So this is what we got. So here you can see we have customized the behavior, the default behavior in our own way. Correct. Now there are a lot of method in this response entity exceptional handler, but it is not going to solve all your exceptions. But let's say there are places where you want to have your own exception. How you are going to do that? That's what we need to understand. Okay. So what we will do is, let's say here in REST controller we have all name. Okay, by name we are going to access. So what we'll do is, let's go with this. So all name and get, and we'll go with test one, let's say. So we got list of, but right now only one is there with the name test one, so we got only one. But let's say uh, what we can do here is, let's create one more with same name. So I'll go with post. Okay, I'll go with post, leave it, post, and then employees and body we have to go with raw and JSON, and here we'll create one again, test one. So we employee ID 3, we have two test one right now. If you will go to database and try to see this guy, then we have two right now. sorry, 2 with test1. Okay, so what we can do is we'll try to fetch using test1 and let's see. So this is our get request. So all name and test1. Okay, it it will it will give us list of employee. So list of employee we got employee ID 1 and 3. So these are the details that we have, which is good. Now what we have to do is, if let's say I'm trying to access with test2, which is good. Again we have, but let's say we are going to access through test3, then it is giving us 200 right now. It is a complete brand new controller where we have created everything by ourselves. Like we have created a method in repository we have created a method in repository to return us list of employee. Okay, so and what is happening right now, even if some employee which is not there, we are getting a 200 response, but in response we are getting empty list. So how to deal with it? Correct. So what we will do here is, the Spring REST controller is here, and retrieve all employee will go here, and here you can see employee list, and we are just, so what we will do is here is we'll check if employee is present. So is present is a method which will give whether your container, that is optional container is empty or it has data. So it will give you boolean response. Is present if it will give you true if data is there, false if data is not there. So false, so I'll give, if it is not is present, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw resource not found exception. So what I'll do is I'll create my own exception, which will be a subclass to runtime exception. So what I'll do is I'll go here and I'll create a class. So what we are going to discuss, if you will try to understand from our this PPT, then based on some condition we will throw an exception. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll create our own exception class, that is class, and this will be resource not found exception. Okay, and I'll add a super class to it, that is runtime exception. Time exception. Okay, let's stop it for now. And here what we'll do is we'll go with resource not found exception, that is our default constructor, and then I'll go with resource now with the string message as well, and this message we are going to send it to super class. Okay, so these are the things that we have to do. Now what we'll do is we will create a exceptional handler in custom exception. So what we'll do is we'll just create an exceptional handler, something like protected and response entity. Also let's make it object only. We can make it exception info also, the generic type, but let's make it object just to have everything aligned and you know, symmetric structure. So that's why we'll go with the object response entity, and then we'll go with handle resource not found exception. And here what we are going to do is I'll go with resource not found exception and web request. Web request is an interface. Basically, if you will go for that web request on Google, web request is Spring. Okay, so what it servlet web request. Servlet web request you will get over here. By using request, you can get a whole lot of request metadata information. If you want, you can find that. Okay. So what is going to happen is whenever resource not exception is going to be thrown, Spring Boot will call this particular method. How? By using exceptional handler. So you have to have it here, exceptional handler, and here you have to mention resource not found exception dot slash. Okay. So now Spring Boot will call this handle resource not found exception whenever in our code we are going to throw resource not found exception by giving us exception detail and request detail. Okay. Now what we will do is we are good to go with all this. So what, so let's rename it to ex and then we are good. So status is not there, so what we will do is we will make our own status dot uh, not found will be there, not found. Okay, so very simple. And this will be http status not found, same we will use over here as well. Okay, we are good. So what we are going to do now is uh, so let me walk you through what and all we have done right now. So basically what we have done is there is a URI which is going to respond the list of employee when someone is trying to access, when someone is trying to get data by using employee name, then we are going to send list of employee. Now the problem was when someone is accessing with employee name which is not there in database at all, then right now it is giving us 200 response with empty list. But now what we want is whenever the list is, whenever this optional container is empty, then in that case throw an exception to the client, something like resource not exception. So what I'll do is throw resource not found exception. Throw new resource not found exception. Okay, so we'll give message here also. So data is not present, and we'll go with employee name. Done. So this is what. Now what as soon as you are going to throw resource not found exception, your custom exception, which is a global exceptional handler, that will come into the picture, correct? And this method will be triggered. Okay, how? Basically Spring Boot is going to send all this information to this method, and now by using these information you can send a response to the client. That's what we are doing here. So these are the things that you have to take care when designing your own custom exceptional handle. Now let's go and start. Okay, we are good. Now we'll come to Postman, and what we'll do is first we'll go with test1. By using test1 try to access, and we have 2 employee. Let's access using test2. We have 1 employee. Now access it using test3. Actually there is no employee which you can see into the database directly. There is no test3, so let's access it. Now you can see it is giving us 200. Okay, so what I'll do is, why it is giving 200, let me see that. Okay guys, why it is? Because employee list, it has data but list is empty. So what we need to check for the list actually. If it is something like optional is saving only employee object, then we can get this detail by using simply optional only. But in this case list, so we have to check whether list is empty or not. Correct. So we'll go for list. So what we'll do is, so from here go with list of employee, list of employee, all employee is equal to employee list dot get, and that's what we are going to return as well. And if dot size is equal to is less than 0, less than or equal to 0, then in that case we'll go with this exception. Okay, so now let's go to Postman and just go for send, and it is giving you 404, 404, and this is what data is not present, test 3. So this is our exception, resource not found exception, data is not present. So this is the complete exceptional handler. Now what we will do is, there are some well-known exception which we can manage in our own way. So what we will do is, let's go for null pointer exception. So what we will do for null pointer exception is same way. This is null pointer exception. We can define here null pointer exception, handle this, handle null pointer exception. Okay, simple. And what status we wanted to give here is HTTP status internal server error. Okay, in the case of null pointer exception. So that's what is going to be sent. Similarly, in the case of no such element exception, what we are going to do is, we'll go with no such element exception dot class. This is okay, and in this case no such element exception, we will go with not found once again, let's say. So these are the well-known exception for which we have defined our own exception. Okay, so whenever no such element exception will be thrown, it is going to throw us this error. Okay, so when it will be thrown, so basically when, so our server automatically started, so that is good. Now what we'll do is, we'll go with employees slash 1, and in that case we have data. Go with 3, we have data. Now go with 4. So this is our exception, no value present. This is our exception. This is what is getting triggered. If you want to see, what you can do is, you can have, this is my custom exception for okay, it will auto restart. Now let me send this, and you can see this is my custom exception for no. So this is our method got triggered. Now if you are going to access something null, Okay, then in that case what is going to happen, that's also we can see. So what we will do here is, now come to controller. In this, let's go for employee is equal to new employee, and employee, let's go with null, and employee dot get age. Okay, so it will throw us a null pointer exception, and we have to see that. So in our custom exception, what we will do is, let's have one message over here. This is okay. What we can do now is, we'll just restart this service, and now we are in Postman. Okay, and let's say we'll go with just one. So as soon as we'll go, it will throw us null pointer exception. So you can see 500, and it is giving us internal server error null pointer exception. Okay, you can give a message also. Okay, so simple it is. Okay, in this way only you can define all your exception at a central place. So like null pointer exception, no such element, resource not found exception. So you have to just define this exceptional handler, and these are the default method which we override it in a way so that I can give my own information to the client. So this is how you can define exception and give proper information to the client. Okay, you can customize your complete exception. Handling is very easy. You know what are the places where exception can occur. Just put try and catch at that particular place. But in this video, I was just trying to explain you how you have ability to give more information and tune your exception information in Spring Boot using REST API. Once again, guys, thanks a lot for your time and connecting with me. And most probably we will connect in our next video with the Spring Security or a Spring Batch Scheduler. So I'll see what I can make, and accordingly I will post the video. At last but not the least, stay tuned, guys, and be safe. This is a bad time for entire world, so take care of yourself and your family, and stay connected. Thank you, guys. Thanks a lot. Thank you. Bye.